Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And we've got an interesting show for you today. Good news for those of us in the Finger Lakes area, as the governor announced that the Del Lago Casino can open as soon as September 9th, which is next Wednesday. And they will allow sports betting. They will not allow table games. They will allow the slot play, of course, at 25% capacity. But very excited that this will happen, and just in time for football season. And, of course, with football, we're going to have our AFC East preview today, all the East Coast teams. I'm going to take a look at the odds and the lineup constructions and give my opine on each team. And we're going to talk about the Kentucky Derby, which is being run in September for the first time, I think, ever. And there are 18 horses running this Saturday. And I'm going to, as I posted on Twitter, throw some darts and give you my prediction and why I'm picking the horses I'm picking, and show you the horses. And obviously there's a heavy favorite with Tis the Law, but we'll talk about some of the other ones too. And then I'm going to take a minute or two to talk about the NASCAR race, the Southern 500 in Darlington. And I'll have my picks for you with both the Kentucky Derby and the Darlington race. And that'll be our weekend in sports betting. But before we do any of that, let's do what we always do and update my bankroll. And boy, have I got a story for you. Actually, it was a pretty nondescript week. We had two Australian rules football picks that both won handily. We had the Great Western Sydney Giants minus 9.5 points. And I think they won by 60-something. And the Gold Coast Suns minus 8.5 points. And both of those teams won. Both were a profit of $16 to the bankroll. And then the Daytona race on Saturday night, we had Eric Amarola, who got shuffled to the back and was never a factor. We had Eric Jones, who was running in the top 5 for most of the second half of the race until he got caught up in the big wreck with about, 15, 20 laps to go. And then we had Martin Truex, who was leading the race going into the final lap, and he was trying to block, and he got passed by a couple of cars. He got shuffled back. I'm not even sure if he finished in the top 5, but he was leading going into the final lap. Anyway, none of those came through. And then we had John Hunter Nemechek, top 10. I said his worst finish ever in a restrictor plate race was 12th, and he finished 11th. So I lost that bet by one position. So if you do the math, we ended up minus $2 on the week. Nothing to cry about there. But if you do the math there, our new bankroll is $509. Our bet size dividing by 30, as we always do, to remain selective sports bettors, remains $17 this week going forward. So kind of treading water this week with the bets, but hopefully this week coming up we'll have a little boost to the bankroll. So let's move on to football, and let's talk about the AFC East. And for those of you that do not follow the NFL that well, the AFC East is the following teams: the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, and the Miami Dolphins. And for those of you that live in the Finger Lakes with me, we're familiar with pretty much all of those teams. You're either, usually you're either a Giants fan or a Jets fan or a Bills fan. And those teams are talked about a lot around here. And let's go. We're going north to south, so let's start with the Patriots. And to win division, surprisingly, plus 141. They are the second favorite to win the division. I feel like that's pretty low. I feel like they should be like plus 175, something like that. To win the AFC, plus 622, again, super low. If they end up going against the Chiefs, I feel like this team doesn't have a chance against the Chiefs. I don't feel like that's a good value bet at all. And to win the Super Bowl, 15-1, that could happen. A lot can happen between now and the Super Bowl. There can be trades, roster changes. Mahomes goes down. it changes the landscape of everything. So, as I spelled Cam Newton wrong, Cam Newtown, week 1 starter. According to reports, Cam Newton is going to start week 1, and Jared Stidham is not. Jared Stidham is actually on the injury report right now, although I don't know if he's going to miss any time. Belichick has talked glowingly about Cam Newton, his work ethic, his team ethic. And I have to say, usually whatever he says, you have to think the opposite with him. His goal is always deception and secrecy, and I don't know. We'll see. Cam Newton is playing for, I think he signed for $1 or $1.5 million, and those of you familiar with the NFL know that starting quarterbacks make anywhere from $15 to $50 million a year. I believe that Pat Mahomes makes $50 million a year. Damian Harris is the number 1 running back, questionable right now for week 1. There's a plethora of running backs in New England. This is going to be a very, very run-heavy team. Obviously, Cam Newton can run as well. But you've got John White, Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, all ready to take reps if James White, if Damian Harris can't go. So you've got a plethora of running backs. However, the wide receiver, you've got Julian Edelman, Damiere Byrd, and N'Keal Harry. Those are your top 3, and whatever else is left. There are no proven targets besides those 3 players. And some, Harry has had the case of the drops before. So, I wondered how their passing game is going to develop here. Asiasi is the tight end. He has to emerge as a target to the secondary can shut down if there's only 3 options. So we'll just have to see what happens here. But this is a team that struggled to score points last year, and it looks like they're going to struggle to score points again. The veteran offensive line is healthy, has no depth. That's, I would trust a team like the Patriots to find replacements off the street. But once again, you're talking about replacement level quality. The defense is deep and very underrated, and that's what got the Patriots as far as they went last year, was their defense. And if you remember the game that they were eliminated, it was a very close, low-scoring game. The quarterback, McCourty, is the only starter not ready to go, and they have a pretty deep defense. So there's plenty of players to fill in here. I feel like this will be one of the better defenses in the AFC. And then I have at the bottom here, what does Hoodie have planned? And that's the big question. Is he going to tank for Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback from Clemson? Is he feel like that he can compete with a different strategy now that Tom Brady is gone? We're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, this team, I think, on paper is better than the Jets or the Dolphins. The question is, are they better than the Bills? And they've had the Bills' number for the better part of 15 years. But I don't know. I don't know what the motive of this team is. Cam Newton is obviously playing for a contract. So if the going gets tough, it'll be interesting to see how Cam Newton responds if this team comes out of the gate 2-4 or 2-5. And, he's still playing for a contract if he wants to keep earning money. If his team's out of the playoff, is he going to check out mentally, or is he still going to be this awesome team player that Belichick has described him as? So lots of question marks for the Patriots. But this is a team that could find itself and be right in the mix. However, the one team that they are definitely going to have to get past is the Buffalo Bills. And, the Bills have not won a playoff game since 1997 or 1994. I can't remember which. But they are the prohibitive favorite to win the division at plus 100. They're 12-1 to win the AFC, which is twice as high as the Patriots, which blows my mind. If that was 15-1, I'd hop all over it, because if they got to the championship game and they played Kansas City, you could just hedge out of it and bet, collect your profit. To win the Super Bowl, they're down to 23-1. They were pushing 30-1. They were 28-1, I think, the last time I talked about futures for the whole NFL. And money's coming in. This is a team that could get the bye in the AFC. There's only one bye in each conference this year. So whoever gets the bye has got the fast track. They're getting the championship game at home. They're getting the divisional round at home. And they're getting a week's rest. This is a team that could get that bye. The Chiefs have a tough division. The Ravens and the Steelers have a very tough division. The Titans and the Texans are going to play each other twice. The Bills, if they get by the Patriots, they should be sitting pretty for a bye. And that will significant your chances of advancing to the AFC Championship or to the Super Bowl are significantly higher if you have that bye. So the two teams that get the bye this year, and I think it's going to be the Packers in the NFC, those are the teams that I'm targeting. So I think there's some value here. Although at 22-1 to win the Super Bowl, not so much. I think there's 28-1 still out there in some places. So that's much more attractive to me. So my first comment on the Bills is, where is Josh Allen's development? We've got some people touting him as an MVP, some people saying he's completely overrated and he can't hit a throw, and he's somewhere in between. Do I expect him to have an MVP season? No. Do I expect him to be better than last year? Yes. A lot of people don't realize this, but Josh Allen had more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson did. He had the most rushing touchdowns for a quarterback last year. And they have an excellent running game. So he's a playmaker. He can improvise. The question remains to be seen whether he can make the timing throws. Obviously, he has a gun and he can throw it deep. If somebody breaks open in wide coverage, but the timing throws are the ones that really will make him that elite level quarterback. And he needs to get that 20-yard throw down. So we'll see how it all pans out. But he's absolutely an exciting player to watch. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, the rookie drafted out of Utah, expected to shine. Those are the two running backs. Frank Gore is gone. Hopefully Singletary will stay healthy this year, but these two guys are expected to be very productive and very exciting. So the running game will hopefully open up, and that will allow that passing attack to improve. You got Stephon Diggs, who they traded their first-round pick for, and John Brown, the deep threat, and Cole Beasley, the slot receiver, are your top three wide receivers. It's unsure who the depth receivers are going to be, but they have, again, staying healthy on paper, they have the best offense in this division by far. Deep offensive line, injuries at right guard and starting right guard and right tackle. They may not be season injuries. I'm not sure who will be ready to go for week one. But the right side, obviously, Josh Allen's a right-handed passer. So if there is pass rush troubles coming from the right side, it won't be a blind side. Obviously, he still has to have time to make a throw, but he will not have to have literal eyes in the back of his head. And interestingly enough, rookie Tyler Bass has won the kicking job, and Stephen Hauschka, after several years in Buffalo and several years in Seattle, is gone. And that could be, a very big thing. It could be great for them. It could be bad. You never know. There have been lots of guys that have come in and won jobs and had career years, and then next year they never made the team again. But I wish him well, and we'll see how he does. On the defensive side, we got Jerry Hughes and Jefferson and Phillips, all defensive linemen facing injuries. Again, don't know how serious most of these are, but they could miss some time. And this defensive line is pretty deep. But Hughes and Jefferson are a big part of that. So Phillips is a depth player. So I'm hoping they can get continued pressure on the quarterback. The linebacking core is fully healthy, and their secondary is one of the best in the league, but there's almost no depth. You got 3 cornerbacks, 2 safeties on the roster right now, something like that. So if somebody gets injured, that would be my biggest concern on their defense. If their secondary gets hurt, 1 or 2 guys go down, that's bad news for the Bills. That will change the way they play defense. So that may very well be the linchpin to the defense. They could stand to lose 1 or 2 defensive linemen. They could lose 1 or 2 linebackers, but they can't afford to lose any secondary. So will they take that next step forward? They lost that big lead in that wild card game last year. They got to win. The goal is to win a playoff game this year for this team. Whether they get by the Patriots or not, they end up in a wild card or they end up as a division winner, they've got to win a playoff game this year. And a home playoff game for Buffalo would be amazing. The atmosphere, if they do allow crowds, a January game in Buffalo, there's nothing like it. It might not be your cup of tea. I'd rather watch the game on television myself, but the atmosphere in the stadium is pretty crazy. All right, let's move on to the Jets, Jets. And they are actually the long shot in the division, which surprises me. To win the division 10-1, to win the AFC about 40-1, and to win the Super Bowl almost 102-1. And you can see I've started out here with Sam Darnold's delicate spleen. He caught mono last year, and he couldn't play because of a possible injury to his spleen. I don't know if that was related to the viral infection. But a healthy Darnold has proven that he can put up numbers in the league. Unfortunately, he may not have the receivers to do something special this year. Joe Flacco is the backup, and he has kind of reached the journeyman stage of his career last year in Denver. He can still throw the ball, but he's a statue. Le'Veon Bell and Frank Gore at running back. You've got 2 power running backs. It's amazing that Frank Gore continues to play in the league and gather significant touches. He's a machine, and Le'Veon Bell will do his thing, and I expect him to do even better than he did last year. So now you get to the wide receivers, Jamison Crowder and Brashard Perryman, and then a bunch of people that I'm not familiar with. And to me, I look at this and I go, wait, Jamison Crowder, he's 5'9", and Brashard Perryman, wait, he's 6'2", and there's not a lot of size at wide receiver on this team, and they are going to struggle to fight for balls. A deep ball is a speed race. It's one-on-one. There's not always a size issue, but in the red zone, you have players like Gronk, you have players like Julio Jones that are just 6'6", 6'7", are just taller than the defense, and they can just throw the ball up, and they go up to get it. This is going to be an issue. They're going to have to run the ball. The Jets are not going to be successful at all unless they establish the run, which is a cliche in football now. But it is absolutely true. And the good news is the offensive line is completely healthy and ready to go, and that's going to be great for their run game. But if they cannot move the ball on the ground, this team is not going to score points. So on the defensive side of the ball, last year was kind of a middle-of-the-road defense, but they had games where they gave up lots of points. They play a 3-4 defense, and 2 of their 5 middle linebackers are injured. Extremely deep secondary. I just don't, with that, if they're playing replacement level at the inside linebacker position, are they going to be able to either stop the run or are they going to be able to pressure the quarterback? Now, the middle linebackers don't necessarily rush as much as the other players do, but will they be able to get steady pressure on the quarterback to force, if they can sit there all day and make a throw, that any average NFL quarterback should be able to pick apart a defense with enough time to throw the ball. So my worry is that this team just cannot score enough points, no matter how good their defense is. The offense looks like it's going to struggle. Now, maybe one of their receivers coming in this year will shine and will prove me completely wrong. And whoever is out there that needs that bulletin board material, go for it. Give it your best. And I hope we see some new stars. That's how fantasy leagues are won, when some of these guys come out of nowhere and they end up getting significant roles in their team's offense. But right now on paper, this team looks like it's going to struggle to score points. However, I think the running backs, if you can get them cheap in your fantasy draft, Le'Veon Bell should probably get just an amazing amount of carries. If he stays healthy, he should definitely rack up, just based on volume, rack up touchdowns and yards. But definitely considered the long shot of the division, which brings us to the Miami Dolphins. And I am surprised that this team is not as equally a long shot as the Jets. To win the division, almost 9-1. To win the AFC, 41-1. They're actually longer odds than the Jets. And to win the Super Bowl, 93-1. And I have right there at the top of my list, Fitzmagic to start over Tua Tagovailoa, or whatever his name is the quarterback from Alabama. Won a national championship with Alabama. He's a left-handed quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a right-handed quarterback. And Fitzpatrick is about 35, and he's a veteran from Harvard. And, he's playing with house money at this point. He's had a successful career as a spot starter backup, and he enjoys playing football, has no expectations of taking a team to the Super Bowl, and he goes out there with nothing to lose attitude, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And I just feel like they don't want Tua to get put in a situation where the pressure's too much for him. I don't know. Maybe he's not fully healed. He had some ankle and hip injuries. But this is a team in the past 2 years that has played for their coach. And even in seasons they're 5-10, 5-11 or 6-10, they would go out and beat the Patriots, and they would have big wins at home. They just play for each other, and that's a dangerous team to play against, because they are going in not caring if they're 3-13 and out of the playoff race. They want to beat you. And Fitzpatrick is a leader in that regard. So Matt Breida from the San Francisco 49ers, Jordan Howard are the running backs. Breida was expendable. They had so many running backs in San Francisco. He did have some injuries over the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, he's a very competent running back. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, and Jakeem Grant are the top 3 wide receivers. There are 2 other wide receivers that had opted out, including Alan Hearns. Mike Gesicki is the top tight end, and he's been a decent pass catcher for them. Starting offensive line is healthy. No depth on the right-hand side, which, again, is not an issue for Fitzpatrick being a right-hander, but Tua is a left-hander, and that would be his blind side. Starting defensive end, Emmanuel Ogbah is injured. He's their number one defensive end. Starting quarterback, Bobby McCain, injured. One of the defensive linemen opts out, and there's only two outside linebackers on the roster in this 4-3 defense. So if there's an injury to the linebacking crew, once again, you have the ability to have outside pass rush or outside pass coverage, double cover and medium depth, like that 8 to 15 yard pass pattern. If I was the quarterback against a team that had those injuries, that's exactly where I would attack. You have a guy that can't cover in those areas, so you're trying to expose their weakness. So this is a team that competes, not regularly. They need to take that next step. I don't know if the quarterback is the one to take them there, but definitely not this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see this team improve to like 8-8, but I think a playoff berth is likely out of the question. But any one of these teams stays healthy, they will be better than projected. There's only a couple of teams in the league that really have no shot this year. If the Jets can find some offense from a receiver somewhere or some size, who knows? They have a quarterback that can get it done. So those are your 4 AFC East teams. I think the Bills are the cream of the crop. The Patriots could surprise. The Patriots could be a playoff team, but at 6-1 to win the AFC, I wouldn't touch them. If you can get the Bills at 28-1 for the Super Bowl, or say 15-1 for the AFC Championship, I would take those and save them in your back pocket for a rainy day. And if they don't have to play the Chiefs, I would let it ride. If they did have to play the Chiefs, I would, bet the opposite side of the game and collect your guaranteed profit. So that's it for NFL this week. And let's move on to a quick look at the Kentucky Derby. And I'm going to put up the Derby horses. So we have 18 horses running in this year's Kentucky Derby. Once again, I said it's the first time since September. First time it's ever been run in September. Tiz the Law won the Belmont. Is currently a 6-5 favorite. Only 10 horses ran in the Belmont Stakes. There were no fans. It was an overcast but not wet day. So those are the type of track conditions. So obviously we know that Tiz the Law likes running under those circumstances and has been a successful horse. Let me just put up a quick shot of the horses here. Now, you can't really see the bottom of the list here, but the horses 15 through 18, the 4 outside spots, the furthest from the rail, are Tiz the Law, Honor AP, New York Traffic, and Authentic. And those 4 horses are the 4 betting favorites, and they're also the 4 horses on the outside furthest away from the rail, which means they have the furthest distance to run to get to that corner. And very few horses have won the race past, 13 or 14. So even though these 4 horses are the betting favorites, they really have a tough draw. And there could be, on that first straightaway to the first corner, there can be a lot of jostling and bodying. And those horses could also wear out from sprinting to avoid that and then not have it on the final stretch. So obviously Tiz the Law is considered the cream of the crop here by most of the pundits and, the bettors as well. Obviously the money talks, and with pari-mutuel betting and horse racing, the odds are directly related to how much money is put on them. But in a year of extreme unknowns, value is on the lesser-known horses. That's what I feel. That's my opinion. There was a period of almost 20 years where the favorite did not win the Derby. I think like in 91 the favorite won, and then it was just an insanely long stretch of years where the favorite did not win. And I believe in like 4 of the last 5 years the favorite has won the Derby. So now, but I feel like the value in betting on the race is not betting the favorites here. Even the second or third favorite is 8-1, 10-1. I mean those are considered medium odds in horse racing. But obviously the lesser known horses, the untested horses, there's value in that because a lot of these horses have refused to race under these conditions, and there wasn't enough purse money for them to want to run other races or show their hand before the Kentucky Derby. Because this is the race that if you're the winner of this race, the stud fees are just incredible. The lineage, of the cachet of being a Derby winner. As a business owner, if you own racehorses, this is the race to win. So I feel like there are some horses that have just been kind of laying low for this race. And now they do have a point system to qualify for the Kentucky Derby, and actually 90 different horses qualified for the Kentucky Derby, and only 20 chose to run. They even have what they call the Japan route and I think it's the Euro route or the Middle Eastern route, where if you don't run in North America, you can run races in other parts of the world and qualify for the Kentucky Derby. And obviously the top 4 favorites, 15, 16, 17, and 18, were the top 4 qualifying point getters. But the next 2 after that, and one is a Baffert horse, 1,000 Words, I believe, is a Baffert horse. And King Guillermo is the one that really strikes me as a horse that has a stakes win, and it has a quality race history, and it has an excellent starting position. And then 1,000 Words in the 10 spot. The 8-9 spot is usually the most desirable if you have your choice of post positions. But 1,000 Words at 15-1. I feel like that horse has the proper personnel to take it to the winner's circle. And King Guillermo is kind of my long shot at 20-1, but has a stakes win, and I feel like can put up a good fight. So before we get to my overall picks, let's take a quick look at the Southern 500. And this is the Darlington race on Sunday. I assume it's going to be prime time. We'll just do a quick summary. The top drivers at Darlington, the history: Kevin Harvick, Eric Jones, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski. The top teams at Darlington, we have Chip Ganassi Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Roger Penske. And the top drivers at intermediate tracks, you got Truex, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Tyler Reddick. So those are the drivers that recently have done well in the over 1 mile, less than 2 mile tracks, the intermediate race tracks. And the Darlington is like 1.366 miles or something along those lines. And I'm going to put up real quick the odds for the Darlington race, and you can see Harvick is the favorite at 285. Truex is 800. Kyle Busch is 11-1. Kurt Busch is 25-1. Eric Jones 20-1. And all the way down here, Tyler Reddick is 50-1. So there's some good value there. And it'll be interesting to see if I can maybe get a winner this week. So let's take a look at my picks. I didn't do any Aussie Rules football this week. But look at the odds for these. If I can get one of these wagers to come in, it's going to be a good week for the bankroll. So for the Kentucky Derby, I'm going to take King Guillermo at 20-1. Now, the horse race is pari-mutuel, so the horse may not go off at 20-1. It's not like the sports book where when you make the bet, your ticket has the odds on it, and that's what you get paid. The actual odds will not be official until the race starts. And I'm also going to take 1,000 words at 15-1. So 1 unit each on those. And then for the Darlington race, I'm going to pick 4 drivers. I'm going to take the Bush brothers, Kyle and Kurt. Kyle 11-1, Kurt at 25-1, Eric Jones at 20-1, and Tyler Reddick at 50-1. Excuse me, half a unit each. So that's going to do it for the show. Thank you for watching this darkened episode. I had an eye doctor appointment this morning and my eyes are a little wonky. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the Derby. Hope you enjoy the race. Hope you get some winners. Let's play the outro music. And we'll see you next time for some NFL. How about that? Take care, everybody.